Good morning, everyone. Well, we had a little bit of a storm go through last night. We're not getting anything near what Texas got. Houston, I think most of Houston's still without power. So pray for them there. I think there was one death. But anyhow, life goes on, huh? But anyhow, what I was going to get to is my tarp. I had it up out of the way, but because the wind was blowing, it's got it repositioned again. I need to find one more stake because I've got my tarp on top, not tied the way I want it because I ran out of stakes, so I tied it to the barbecue. I've actually got to move that because I want to use the barbecue. So I got to find one more stake. I've got great big nail stakes. They're almost as big around as my pinky. And they can go into any kind of dirt. They don't bend. These little itty bitty tent stakes that we get to put up a small tent, they don't last long and they bend. Any case, I'm rambling, so let me get into the message. I occasionally will post pictures because YouTube allows me to post pictures. A lot of times, most of you get the pictures that they're comical. That's why I posted them. I'm not trying to make a philosophical point or anything, and I'm never picking fun at Jesus or God, but I'll pick fun at the devil because he deserves it. Laugh with me. You go, oh, but I'm going to be serious and pious because we're not allowed to laugh. Wrong. Read all the Bible. There are things in the Bible that are humorous, musical. The things that we have, humor being one of them, we have because God has humor. And there are humorous stories in the Bible. Now, it's hard to understand sometimes if they're humor because the translations don't always pick that. Sometimes the people that tried to translate it were the pious, serious people, and they watered it down quite a bit, or simply used different words that weren't funny. But there is humor in the Bible. So you need humor for a couple of reasons. Joy, humor, kind of the same aspect of it. Humor, if something's funny, it will give you joy. Everything good comes from above. So don't push away part of God because you don't think it's right. Now, you can't walk around with everything a joke, but it is it's like the Psalm teaches, he makes us to lie down in green pastures because we don't always want to do it. Here, give us rest. You hear the expression, laughter is the best form of medicine. That's not a slight on God. That's just telling you that it has that effect on the body. If you're stressed out, you need some comedy. Watch some comedians. Now, I know a lot of the comedians are vulgar, and I don't recommend them. But there are comedians that aren't. There are actually Christian comedians. Now, I don't have a list of comedians to tell you about because then someone's going to, it's a matter of personality whether you like the person or not. I will go with one, though, just to let you know. Red Skelton. He's no longer with us, but he was a plain, simple comedian that didn't have to use vulgar language. And his jokes were simple. He did his Gertrude and Heathcliff, the seagulls. He makes the wings. And he says, Gertrude saying to Heathcliff, "Look down there at that ship. That's the ship of fools." And Heathcliff goes, "How do you know that?" And Gertrude says, "Well, they're all looking up, aren't they?" That's his level of comedic stuff. And he also could play a clown. He did the hobo clown that I talked about in my previous video. We need comedy. We need music. We have a whole book of psalms, which means songs. It's a collection of songs. Now, it's period songs. We have modern Christian songs, and we have period songs. We call them hymns. But they had their own version of songs back then. And you can't tell sometimes that there's whimsical parts of the song because of the translation. We lose so much of that. All right. Now, any good comedian knows that there's a line to cross. The good comedians will get up to the line and not cross it. If you're watching a set of a comedian and you're listening to him and you're thinking, well, those are really good jokes. How did he come up with all those? One at a time, he'd get up on stage, tell his set of jokes. He may add a new one every time he tells a set. And if people laugh, you keep it in the set. If they don't laugh, you take it out. Then, of course, you've got to build. And then you come down a little bit and you build and then you come down again. That's a normal drama type situation like you would do in a play. The comedian wants to end on a high note, if possible. Now, okay, my mouse is, I found out that I've got to turn my computer off at night. If I don't, the mouse driver gets messed up. I've eliminated half the problem by turning off the touchpad, but the regular mouse driver, which the touchpad used as well, can get lost. I have to reboot the computer every day to do that, and I just opened this up and started reading from my notes. Okay, so God has given us the ability to laugh for a reason. You know, it may seem like a trivial thing, laughter is a way to revitalize yourself. Laughter is the best medicine. While you're happy and filled with the Spirit, Satan can't get in. It's a tool to be used like any other tool, appropriately. Now, we're going to look at some examples in the Bible where there is humor. I've got a serious story here from Kings, 1 Kings, but there's humor in it. 1 Kings 18:20. This is the battle between Baal and God. So Ahab summoned all the Israelites and assembled the prophets on Mount Carmel. Then Elijah approached all the people and said, "How long will you waver between two opinions?" A lot of them were going over to the side of Baal. It was a popular teaching. And you can't have two gods with our God. He's a jealous God. And there's only one God. I know he's three in one, but there's only one God. So if there's any other God in here, he's a phony, baloney, fake God. Okay. If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. Giving them a choice. But the people did not answer a word. Sometimes when you're being put on the spot, you don't want to answer. Then Elijah said to the people, "I am the only remaining prophet of the Lord, but Baal has 450 prophets." Yeah, all of them not too good either. That's why they needed so many. 18:23. Get 2 bowls for us. Let the prophets of Baal choose one of the bowls for themselves. Let them choose the first bowl. Make sure that there's no sighting here. Cut it into pieces and place it on the wood, but do not light the fire. And I will prepare the other bowl and place it on the wood, but not light the fire. So they're setting up 2 barbecues. Then you may call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by fire, he is God. And all the people answered, what you say is good. Finally, they accepted that. Because it's a battle. It's a competition. Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, since you are so numerous, choose for yourselves 1 bowl and prepare it first. Then call on the name of your God, but do not light the fire. And they took the bowl that was given them, prepared it, and called on the name of Baal, from morning until noon, shouting, O Baal, answer us. But there was no sound, and no one answered as they leaped around the altar that they had made. At noon, Elijah began to taunt them. Taunting is a form of humor. Shout louder, for he is God. As if he can't hear a whisper. Perhaps he is in deep thought or occupied or on a journey. Perhaps he is sleeping and must be awakened. Our God never sleeps. So you can call on him anytime. So they shouted louder and cut themselves with knives and lances, as was their custom. So nothing new for them, until the blood gushed all over them. God does require blood. Jesus gave it, so we don't need to do that. Midday passed, and they kept on raving until the time of the evening sacrifice. But there was no response. No one answered. And people stopped paying attention. Then Elijah said to all the people, come near me, so that the people approached him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been torn down, because in their celebration they tore it down. And Elijah took 12 stones, 1 for each of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come and said, Israel shall be your name. You know, when Jacob wrestled with the angel and he changed his name. And with the stones Elijah built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he dug a trench around the altar large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. A pretty good size area. Next he arranged the wood, cut up the bowl, and placed it on the wood, and said, fill your 4 water pots and pour the water on the offering and on the wood. He wasn't just going to make a moat and just fill it up. That's there to collect the water that's going to come running off. Now, do it a second time, he said, and they did it a second time. Do it a third time, he said, and they did it a third time. So the water ran down the altar and even filled the trench. At the time of the evening sacrifice, Elijah the prophet approached the altar and said, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known that this day you are the God of Israel, and that I am your servant, and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, so that the people will know that you, the Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and it licked up the water from the trench. God is thorough. When all the people saw this, they fell face down and said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. So if you don't have the right God, maybe he's asleep. That's humor in the Bible, in the Old Testament. Ecclesiastes 3:4. You should know part of this anyway, because it's part of a song. Ecclesiastes 3:4. A time to weep, a time to laugh. They wouldn't have put it in the Bible if it was not meant for you. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. Laughter and dance. There are churches that won't let you laugh. There are churches that won't let you dance. They're happy to let you weep and mourn, but you can't take part of the Bible. You have to take it all. Ecclesiastes 8:15, just a few pages over. So I commended enjoyment, because a man has nothing better under the sun than to eat, drink, and be merry. For this will remain with him in his labor all the days of his life, which God gives him under the sun. If you go out and you have fun, you remember that. It helps to heal the body. You can't be happy if you're fearful. It helps to dispel fear. And I've talked about this, but Galatians 5:22, we're going to refresh this. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, most important. Without it, you can't have any of the rest of it. Joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such thing there is no law. If you don't have all of those, time to time we can lose one or more as we get preoccupied or distracted. Call on the Lord and He'll refresh. So there are Christian comedians. There are also Christian jokes. Now some of these are, groan-worthy, but they're still jokes. Why did the Christian chicken go to the other side of the road? To get across. I know, groan. It's still comedy. What do you call a priest who becomes a lawyer? A father-in-law. I know, groan. Early in life, I was hunched over having problems with my posture. I didn't think prayer could help me. But I stand corrected. Take time to enjoy your life. That's why God created us, to have a good life with Him. Adam and Eve walked in the garden with God, talking to Him, looking at the creation, seeing the animals, talking to the animals. We will get that back. But we've had to go through all this so that man can see just what God has done. Adam and Eve didn't appreciate what God has done because they didn't know anything else. We know all this other stuff. Be happy. Be joyous. There's times to be serious. But there are funerals and there are wakes. You should have fun celebrating the life of someone. You can leave mourning to your personal life, but get together with others and celebrate somebody's life. Be happy, like the song. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.